So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the fifth session of this weekly experiential webinar series on heartfulness techniques. All these techniques that we're doing each week, be it meditation or relaxation, cleaning and detox techniques, they're all things that you can use in your daily life, and they're even more useful right now in challenging times when there's so much adaptation needed. They really give us strength and they help us. They're a good backup to this situation and to make us feel more calm and peaceful. So today's speaker is Dave Grantier, and he's a heartfulness trainer and practitioner. He's been doing heartfulness meditation for about 6 years, and he is Senior Vice President of Service Delivery at BECT, where he regularly leads heartfulness sessions. And so he'll be guiding everyone today through a practical session on managing anger. Before we start diving into this whole presentation on anger, let's just try and do a few left nostril breathing like we usually do, ourselves in a good place and be a bit more calm and receptive for this webinar. So I'll take you through the process as usual. We'll do about 5-6 breaths, and you can do it as long as you need to really get into a good space. So just take your right thumb and place it on your right nostril. And then breathe deeply through your left nostril and really fill up your breath from your stomach to up your entire chest, and then breathe out from your left nostril. So let's do that a couple of times. The idea behind this left nostril breathing is to really make this parasympathetic system kick in, and we're trying to bring about what we generally are left nostril dominant after meditation or sleep. So we're trying to bring that as a reverse process to get ourselves into that space. So as you do this, really be conscious that the idea is to get yourself in a calm and relaxed state, which will actually be the one you'll be experiencing through meditation, but you're preparing yourself for that. So once you're done, take one last deep breath through your left nostril. And notice the change and the equalizing of the breath and how calm it's, the potential this breathing to bring you to a calm state. So at the end, as usual, there'll be a time dedicated for answering questions. It may be 1 or 2 minutes or 5, depending on how much time we get. But you're always welcome to drop in all your questions in the Q&A box, and we'll be sure to answer as many as we can. So now that we're all ready, let's welcome Dave for this presentation on managing anger. We can't see your video yet, Dave.
I apologize. I'm looking for the button. Hopefully we won't
Right, take your time.
Too many technical difficulties here. I had it all set up, but then when I shared my desktop, all the buttons moved, and now I don't know where they are. Give me just a moment here.
No worries, take your time. We're good. We have plenty of time to start.
Let's see. There we go. I think.
Yep, there
Morning,
you go.
everyone. Or good afternoon. I guess it's barely afternoon. Let me see here if I can go back to my desktop share. So as Letitia pointed out, my name is David Grantier, and it's great to be with everyone today. I just want to share a little bit more about myself before we jump in. Again, my name's Dave, and as Letitia mentioned, I've been a heartfulness meditator now for 6 years and a trainer for 4. And I just wanted to share that, I got into meditation originally to help me sleep better. I had one of these, I just didn't sleep well. You doze off at night, and then you wake up with some dramatic thing going on, and you just toss and turn a lot. So I've been reading online about studies that showed, how meditation can help somebody sleep. And I didn't know much about meditation back then, or even how to engage. But thankfully, I worked with somebody who did, and he was practicing heartfulness. So he recommended I try it. And I found, interestingly, that within maybe a week, I was sleeping great. It really worked very fast, very well. And then I found something else. It wasn't just my sleep that had helped. I started noticing other things that helped, or being helped by meditation, and anger was one of them. So anyway, it's a privilege to talk to you guys today about anger and how we can manage anger in our lives and just be better people all around. So before we begin, I wanted to kind of make a note, as you think about anger, not all anger is bad, right? Anger can be, very healthy, like positive stress. In fact, today we're seeing a lot of, I'll call it productive anger over social injustice that's going on. And that anger can be actually channeled to good effect. It can cause people to rethink and change their attitudes. So this is not the anger we're thinking about as we talk today. I'm thinking more about, the anger that consumes, that controls, that rage that's inside that just really hurts us and holds us back. That's the anger that we want to get our hands around. So that's where we'll put most of our focus. So thinking about anger and doing some research on it, I found something really kind of eye-popping about it. This series that we're doing, this webinar, is all about coping with the global pandemic. And I came to realize that anger itself is an epidemic. In fact, according to a study that the Duke University Medical Center did in 2015, 1 in 10 had issues with impulsive anger. That's kind of eye-popping for me, but it makes sense. And then, the Gallup organization, they're a polling organization. They track many things from a polling perspective. And one of them is the National Mood Index. And they noticed that pretty much, and this is consistent year over year, 1 in 5 Americans report feeling angry in the past 24 hours. 1 in 5. Thankfully, COVID-19 is nowhere near those levels, or we would be in fourth straits. So anger is out there. It's an epidemic. So I'm really pleased to get a chance to talk to you guys today about that. So in thinking about anger, there's really 3 things I want to draw attention to. This is anger that controls us and consumes us. Anger is destructive, it's contagious, and it's addictive. These are 3 properties of anger that most of us would say are very unhealthy. And the destructive one is probably pretty straightforward, right? That anger can interfere with your sleep. It can make your heart rate go up, your blood pressure. It can even suppress your immunity over a long enough time. It clouds your thinking, and it can result in making very poor decisions. So yeah, anger is something that we probably ought to have as little of as we can get away with. Anger is contagious, and it spreads, whether it spreads to people that you love, your family, your inner circle, or maybe even business relationships. If you've ever worked in a toxic office where everyone around you is angry, don't you feel the anger when you come into the room and when you go home each day? It's like yawning, right? It's a social contagion. It spreads very quickly. And the last thing that's maybe, I thought, a little surprising, but not really when you think about it, is when we get angry, we kind of have a rush, right? There's a dopamine response that happens, in our brain. And that dopamine response is just like the one that you get if you're a gambler and you get the win or the loss. That rush becomes an addictive presence in our lives. And people that are used to being angry a lot tend to seek it out. So hopefully those are some reasons that resonate with most of you as to why anger is, for want of a better word, unhealthy. All right, so what are some sources of anger? We know it's bad, but where does it come from? And I've been thinking about that, and there are 3 major areas that it seems to me where we see anger the most, right? Where it comes from. The first one is desire, right? something I wanted. It didn't happen, or it won't happen because someone did something, and that triggers an anger response. You know, if you've ever yelled at your kid for getting a B when he could have gotten an A, maybe you were angry. Maybe that came from a desire that you had that one day he becomes a medical doctor, or gets into a good college, or gets a good scholarship. That doesn't happen with B students as much as it does with A students. So if you're upset with your kid over getting a B, which is still pretty good, um, maybe there's anger there that's coming from a place of desire. You know, you want something for him or for yourself that's now under threat, and that kind of anger we call, you know, an attachment. So obviously, meditation can help with learning how not to be attached to ideas or to things. So that's one way that meditation can help. The second place is guilt. Maybe you're late to a meeting because your prior meeting ran long and somebody calls you out on it. And your first response is, it's not my fault. The last meeting went long, someone was talking to me, too many extraneous questions, on and on and on. And really what's happening is you're feeling guilty that you were late. And that kind of comes from a place of, you know, ego or pride. You know, my personal pride's being attacked because I missed something. It's not my fault, right? That's really guilt at the bottom. And what comes out can be anger. And the last place, which is sometimes a little bit surprising, is fear. But anger comes a lot from fear. Politicians will exploit the fear response to make you angry on purpose so that you vote for them. It could be something as simple as your spouse getting angry with you because you're driving too close to the car in front. Why is she angry with you? And are you really driving too close? That doesn't matter. She feels angry. Maybe she feels angry because she's afraid you'll hit the car. In fact, if you look, maybe she's even been in an accident where somebody was driving too close and couldn't stop in time, and the airbag went off. And that kind of anger we kind of connect to past impressions. You know, past impressions have a way of influencing how we see the world and how we react to it. So we know anger is an epidemic. We know it's bad for us, and we kind of know where it comes from. What can we do? So I want to give kind of hopefully a simple three-pronged strategy. And as you might guess, one of them does involve meditating. But we'll talk through each one. But I like to remember, you know, recognize, substitute, prevent as a strategy for me. So let's talk about recognize just briefly. Recognize that anger is a fight or flight reaction. Biologists and behaviorists will call this, you know, a stimulus response. Something happens, we respond. It's very common in psychology. It's very common in biology. All organisms do it. As part of recognizing, we should also look at ourselves and recognize, where is our anger coming from? Observe myself. Easier said than done, especially when you're angry. And there's a reason for that. You know, when you're angry, the blood leaves the thinking centers of our brain and goes out to the extremities so that we're ready to either flee, run, or fight. You know, fight back against someone who's making us angry. The classic stress response. It can be hard to observe ourselves in the moment of anger, but we'll talk about ways that we can do that. Once we're able to observe ourselves and think, okay, am I angry because my pride is at risk, or because something that I'm attached to is not going to happen, or because I'm afraid of something? Once we observe and can see that, we can figure out how we want to do it. I can substitute another emotion. For example, if I'm afraid of something, like maybe I have a fear of losing an attachment. Maybe, you know, my son won't go to medical school. He won't become the famous surgeon that I've always dreamed he would become. Maybe I can accept that. Maybe I can accept that he wants to do something different with his life, and not be angry that he made a B. Maybe if I recognize the anger is coming from fear, I can replace that with empathy. Maybe I shouldn't be afraid of the other person and what they're doing. I can empathize with that person and see them as a human who's also struggling more than one. And honestly, when you look at it, cheerfulness, sympathy, acceptance. These are all expressions really of love. Substituting anger, or another emotion in place of anger. Even gratefulness is particularly powerful at removing anger. And the last one, let's see. Oh, there we go. Prevent. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. John F. Kennedy once said, the time to fix the roof is when the sun is shining. I like that analogy a lot because the time to learn to deal with anger is when you're not angry. Practice meditation when you don't need it so that it's there for you when you do. Stephen Covey once said, meditation inserts that pause between the stimulus and the response. And that's something that kind of differentiates us a little bit from other animals. If we can pause between the stimulus and the response, we can choose a new response. In fact, we can observe ourselves and we can pick, the way we want to go. That only works, though, that if you practice meditation before the anger happens. It's hard to go into a state of meditation if you're not used to it in the middle of a heated confrontation. The second thing that you can do to prevent anger is, it was covered kind of in the second webinar in this series. Joshua Pollack did an outstanding job walking through the cleaning and detox process. And just real briefly, that's a step where you willfully sit for 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 20 minutes, however long you can get, and have a thought that your complexities, the impurities in your life, the stresses that you have are just kind of evaporating off your back, just kind of going away, just like smoke. That can be a very good thing for helping with anger. And that's one of the things actually that helped me sleep and even deal with anger later in my life. I didn't know I had it, but I did. So recognize, substitute, prevent. But now I want to do kind of just a quick experiment. And what we're going to do, I'm going to give everyone maybe a minute. We'll go ahead and think about a time when you were angry. Think about it lightly. You don't want to relive anything or reinforce any old impressions, but just give it a simple thought. A time that you were angry. Maybe someone said something to you in the office. Maybe you were passed over for a promotion. Maybe your kid mouthed off to you. Something. And what we're going to do is we're going to go through a meditation process today, much like we've done in prior weeks for those of you who've been in the other webinars. And at the end, I'm going to ask you again to revisit that topic. What were you angry about? And I want you to ask yourself if you feel less angry or what you're feeling. And then after that, we'll have some time for wrap up and for some Q&A. Okay. So here's how we'll meditate, just to give everyone just a sneak preview on how this is going to go. I'll walk you through a guided relaxation, and that's just going to take a minute or two. It's going to go pretty quick. And then I'll say, okay, shift your focus to a source of light in your heart. We know there's not a real source of light in the heart. You don't have to go crazy with visualization there, but just imagine that's there and it's kind of drawing your attention. And I'll say, please start. And then during that time, for maybe 15 minutes, maybe 20, however it works, you'll have thoughts. Just let them go. Don't concentrate or work too hard at it. Just kind of put your mind back, on the source of light in your heart. Simple. At the end, I'll say, that's all. And then what we'll do is we'll pause maybe for just a minute. Once I say that's all, before you open your eyes, just pause and think, okay, what am I feeling? If you had to name the emotions that you're feeling, what would they be? All right? So everyone, please sit comfortably. I want you to close your eyes. Just kind of relax. Now draw your attention to your toes. You can wiggle them. Imagine they're placed against the earth. And imagine energy from the earth kind of rising into your body through your feet. And as it does, imagine that kind of neutralizing any stress or tension. As it comes up, feel your toes relax, your feet, your heels of your feet relax. Feel the tension just evaporate. Now feel the energy rise up your calves, into your knees, and as it does, just feel the energy melt away any stress or tension that you may have in your body. Now let the energy rise up your legs, up your thighs, your waist, your hips. Just relaxing all the tension and stress that you may have. Take a moment and notice that your body from the waist all the way down is starting to feel very relaxed. Now feel the energy rise into your abdomen, your lower back. Your abdomen and lower back are becoming very relaxed. And into the chest, your upper back, and even your shoulders. Feel the tension dissolve. Feel each arm becoming loose, not tense, completely relaxed. Your elbows, your forearm, your wrist, your hands, even your thumbs and fingers, just becoming completely relaxed. Everything from your shoulder all the way to your feet. Just very peaceful and comfortable. All the tension is just gone. Now feel the energy rise on your shoulders. All the tension we carry in our neck starts to evaporate. Your throat, your jaw, your cheeks, the back of your head, your eyes, forehead. Just let it rise all the way to the very crown. All the tension, all the stress, all the anxiousness, everything, just melting away. You're now feeling relaxed from the top of your head all the way to the toes of your feet. Your entire body is completely relaxed. Now draw your attention to your heart and make a suggestion. There's a source of light. And draw your attention to the idea that that source of light in your heart is drawing you in some. Please start meditating. That's all. Now, before you open your eyes, ask yourself, how do I feel? Compared to before, do you feel less angry? Do you notice any other emotions? So in 2016, this study was actually performed by the Department of Psychology at the University of Kansas. And the experimenters there wanted to understand the effects of meditation on anger levels in experienced and inexperienced meditators. And one of the things that they found was even somebody who was brand new to meditation showed similar signs of improvement to what experienced meditators were seeing across the board. Everything from heart rate to blood pressure, um, all of the standard things that they could measure about the meditators and inexperienced meditators' physiology improved after just a short meditation, just exactly like we've done here. I got a couple of links here on the page. One of them is to the NIH actual study, and it's pretty deep. There's also one to Psychology Today where they describe the study at an easier level of detail. Hopefully, you guys have a similar experience as to what these folks did in this study, namely that meditating can calm anger. Now, before we go and open it up for Q&A, I recognize, we can't all just start meditating in the middle of a confrontational moment. So I'm going to give you kind of 5 take-homes that you can use and do. 4 of them you can do like almost right away. And these, I think, will help a lot in curbing anger in the moment. And then the 5th one you'll see as something that we can practice over time and get better. So if you feel anger arising, the left nostril breathing exercise that Letitia took us through at the very beginning of this webinar is very helpful. A lot of people find it helps them a lot. Activating your parasympathetic nervous system, kind of counteracting the main nervous system response of stimulus, stimulus response, and the fight is good at calming that. You can try that and see if it works for you. Another one is I would highly encourage folks to go back and look at Joshua Pollack's Cleaning Detox. It's webinar number 2 in the series. That one is just huge. Again, the idea of the impurities, the complexities, whatever's happening, any impressions that you have, just kind of going out your back, in the form of smoke or vapor. You can use that pretty much anywhere at any time for any period of time. Even if it's just a minute. I've done it going to the break room for coffee. So in the workplace, it can be a very helpful thing. The third one that I really like, and is particularly relevant in this time of COVID-19, is to wear your face mask. And by that, I mean not a real face mask, but if you can feel anger coming on, Put on a smile. Let a smile be your face mask. That is a huge, huge, huge. You can't imagine how good that is at blocking anger from spreading. Just it de-escalates the situation so well. And one of the things I found personally is when I felt myself getting angry before, we talked about the blood leaving the thinking centers of the brain and going to the extremities. Sometimes remembering, the left nostril breathing and the detox, it doesn't come right away. But I can remember just smile. Those two words, just smile. The fourth one, and this is something that will start to kick in as you get better, is if you can put a pause in there, learn to humanize and empathize. So often the people that we're angry at, they're struggling with anger just like we are. And they're no better at managing it than we are. We wish we were better. Sometimes you can recognize that, turn them into human beings, and not people that are just deserving of blame and punishment. It helps. We begin to calm down. Once I see the world the way they see it, it's like I'm a member of their tribe, or maybe they're a member of mine. It's like way easier to be not angry at people who are like you. And then the last one, this is in a different color. It's meditate regularly. Again, John F. Kennedy said, "You fix the roof when the sun is shining." If you practice meditation, even a little bit, 10, 15 minutes, whatever you can do every day, you'll start to see over a period of days and weeks changes in your brain. Chris talked about that in the last webinar. That meditators who practice regularly, the amygdala goes down. That's where the stress hormones come up. And then the gray matter actually thickens and increases the thinking, the superior processing, the ability to stay calm and focused. So just a little bit, an ounce of prevention is a pound of cure. All right, guys, and that's all I have. Letitia, I don't know if we have time for Q&A.
Yes, I mean, we can, let's see if we get some questions right away. Usually it takes a little while, but if we do, I'm sure we can take a few questions. In the meanwhile, I'll just tell everybody that if you'd like such heartfulness sessions to take place in your office, or you're interested in just finding more resources for yourself, to meditate with a trainer one-to-one, to have personal sessions, or to find a local meditation center, or to download the app, you're most welcome to go to heartfulness.org/experience, and that's a beautiful curated page that has, all of those things that you can use, all of those free resources, and everything is free. We also do such sessions for corporate setups and for companies. So if you'd like to have such sessions at your own company, you're most welcome to answer to us in the poll that came up on your screen, where you can just give us your contact details and we'll get in touch with you if you'd like to have some sessions as such. So let's see if we have a few questions before we end. So we have a feedback from somebody who says that they feel calm and collected and refreshed after the meditation, whereas before they felt quite anxious, angry, stressed, and scattered. So thank you, Dave, they said. I think it was quite effective. Someone is asking if you can share something related to hatred, which also initiates anger.
Sure. It's interesting that you say that because, I mentioned at the beginning, not knowing that I had particular, anger issues. One of the things that I noticed when I began doing heartfulness meditation is on a weekly basis, I would go and visit, a trainer. And essentially what that looks like is you go to someone's house, you sit down, and maybe for 30 minutes we have a meditation, very much like we just did here. maybe some small talk, and then I would leave. And one of the things that I noticed, just as background, I used to drive 30 plus miles one way and some pretty heavy traffic in Atlanta to get to work. And one of the things that I noticed is on the mornings that I would leave my meditation, I just wasn't as angry. And even though the BMW driver or BMW drivers would still cut me off, and I would still feel hate is not the wrong word at this guy who's cutting me off. I noticed that gradually started to go away, and I started to recognize he's probably later for work than I am. I'll be okay, and I'll just let him know. Often, no, that's a generic form of hatred, but often I just found that just kind of crept in without me doing anything particular. Um, if you're focused more on individuals that you hate or that you find hatred, you feel hatred towards, humanizing and empathizing are huge. And it's easier to do that when you've meditated for a while than it is when you haven't meditated.
And there's another question regarding cleaning. Someone asked, how often can cleaning be done in a day, and does it matter how often we do it?
Oh, great question. So the normal cleaning practice that I would do as a heartfulness meditator is usually in the evenings, not just before bed, because if you're really tired, sometimes you fall asleep and then you lose the benefit. And you have a sore neck from falling asleep in your chair. But normally you would do it in the afternoon before you turn. Early evening. Um, However, you can clean anywhere at any time. And once you get practice at it, you can even clean while you're having a conversation. It's just the simple idea that someone's saying something hurtful to me, and it's starting to bug me. You know what? I'm gonna let it go, and you can almost feel the vapor, the smoke rising off your back, even in the middle of a conversation. So you can do it as often as you like. I've excused myself for meetings. Gone to the break room for coffee, and while the coffee is coming out of the machine, I'll just kind of just mentally go there, for want of a better word. You can do it as often as you like.
We have one more question regarding teens and younger people who can't meditate. Is there any tip or something to do for them to manage anger?
Yeah, teens can be hard. When you're a teenager, you have um, a lot of change going on in your world. Of course, we live in a world now where there's 24/7 news and anxiety. It's hard for teens to calm down. It's hard enough for teens to calm down as it is. Probably the best thing to do is I would say, get a rhythm going. I find meditation works best if you can do something at the same time each day. And teenagers, of course, are no different from us in that regard. That they can get onto a regular schedule or a regular pattern, maybe as a family. Just have 7:30 to 8 every morning, or just pick a time. That's going to become our quiet time where we focus on no one talks, or just sit quietly. Something like that. That can often be helpful for getting teens kind of into the rhythm.
So we do have a few more questions, but I think we're going to have to cut short just to make sure we're sticking to our time schedule for everybody. I'll just inform you of the next session, which is on June 16th. It'll be on sleep, and it will be led by Dr. Timapuram. And this actually is very much related to what you shared in the beginning, that you started meditation for better sleep. And so we'll be getting into that aspect, which is something that many people need. And someone asked, what is the app to be downloaded to be able to take one-to-one sessions? And so this app is the Hearts app, and we'll show you again the page, which is heartfulness.org/experience, and that will show you. If you go on that page, you'll be able to download the app as well. So Dave, if you can just show them the slide with the
Absolutely. This one?
yeah. So you can go to this page and you can see that you can download the Hearts app for Android or your iPhone, and you're able to take one-on-one sessions with a trainer. You also have all the other resources for meditation, relaxation, and guided cleaning or rejuvenation. So please make sure you utilize those resources as much as you need. And now we'll say goodbye for the day for all of you who need to leave. And if some of you would like to stay, we can still answer a couple of questions. But feel free to go as we're done for the day. So someone is asking how to forgive others' mistakes, which makes us get angry on them.
Yeah, that's always a hard one, right? Especially if the mistakes are very close and very personal. And that's always hard, right? Because more than likely, the others that you're looking at to forgive are probably members of your family. Because that's the case where they should know better, and it hurts the most. And all I can say is look at the mistake that they made, and look why it makes you angry. Does it go back to an attachment that you have? Does it go back to a pride or an ego attack that you feel? Or, what is it? What about it um, attaches to you? Usually, letting go of attachments through a regular practice of meditation will make that subside. And then actively practicing, gratefulness, empathy, looking for a substitution that you can do. Because if that anger is making it hard to forgive, look at the anger first. Try to remove that anger through a substitution. Understand where they were and why they did what they did. Understand maybe that they'll never be able to meet you where you would like them to meet you. I think once you get some comfort around those ideas, often the ability to forgive becomes much easier.
Well, I think that was our last question. So I hope everybody got their answers, and I'm really sorry if I missed any of them. But do join us next time for Dr. J's session on meditation and a good night's sleep. That will be the last session of this series, but we have a lot more programs coming up, and we'll be sure to share that with you so that you can continue with us as much as you'd like on those heartfulness, relaxation, and meditation sessions. So hope you all have a great day, and see you on June 16th at the same time for the following session. Dave, do you want to say anything?
Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate the time that you spent. I love these sessions. Looking forward to the next one.
And there was great feedback. If you look up in the comments, I think everybody enjoyed this session very much. So it was
Excellent.
great.
Great.
All right. All right. See you.
Yeah.
Bye.